मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Chapter 2, verses 26 to 35. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे कृतं तथा विश्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि। जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्ममृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येते न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमज्ञानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना। आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कष्टिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्। देहि नित्यमवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि। धर्म्याद्धियुद्धाश्रेयोऽन्यः क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते। यदृच्छया चोपपन्नम् स्वगर्वारमपावृतम् सुखिनः क्षत्रिया पार्थ लभन्ते युक्तमीदृशम्। अथ चेत्त्वमिमं कर्म्यम् सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि तथा स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि। अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम्। सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते। भयाद्रणादु परतं मद्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्।
God remains a wonderment right till the end. Till you realize the self, till you have the experience of the self, it remains a wonder. For you can never know it. The difficulty is how to pursue that which you can never know. What will drive a human being to seek that which is not possible to know? One sees this as a wonder, another speaks of this as a wonder, another hears of this as a wonder, and though having heard, none knows this at all. They never say God, they only say this. You have to understand what this means. Instead of using this, they can straight away say God can't be known, God can't be known. They don't. They say this can't be known. What is it? What is that this? You are free to interpret it. You are free to assume in the way whatever you want to. And what is the difficulty in pursuing God. The difficulty in pursuing God is, in every other pursuit there is a utility. In the pursuit of God there is no utility. You don't seek God so that you can be peaceful in life. You don't seek God because you want to lead a happy life. You don't seek God because all your worldly problems will get solved then. That is not seeking God. If you are seeking God for these purposes, you are still worldly. Your focus is still on your attention is still on the world, your focus is still on the world, and God is seen as an entity. God is seen as a tool that can solve your worldly problems. Supposing if someone says, or if God turns around and says, you handle your problems, I have nothing to do with your problem. We turn around and say, why waste time? Why waste time seeking you? The difficult thing or the impossible thing to understand in seeking God is, if at all there is only one pursuit in life which has no utility at all, that is God. For God itself is the utility. There is no other utility other than that. All worldly pursuits has a utility. You do it for something else. You do it for something else. For example, take a simple example. Supposing if someone comes and says, my child is writing the exams. We need to decide which is the best course for the child. Sir, I have come to seek your advice. எதில் நிறைய ஸ்கோப் இருக்கு? In which subject there is scope? I say, maximum scope is in Vedanta only. And Vedanta Academy will be overflowing because maximum scope is there. So, you are not interested in the study. You are interested in that study because of what? All worldly pursuits the pursuit per se has no meaning, or the pursuit has a meaning only when you do it for something else. And pursuit of God is not like that. The pursuit of God has no utility like that. But then we have fixed the utility for pursuing God also. What is the utility of pursuing God? What will you get if you pursue God? I'll be very peaceful, no sir. I'll be very happy, no. So, happiness is what you are seeking. Someone told you God gives you peace and you are pursuing it. You understand? Therefore, the most difficult thing in understanding the pursuit of God is there is no utility. There is no reason for which you pursue God. Just as, if you don't understand this, there is no reason for you to love. There is no reason for you to love. Love is what you are. Are you able to understand that? Okay, they say God is love. Love is God. The moment you bring a utility to love, the moment you bring love as your response to something, it's not love. Are you able to understand that? Over 10-15 minutes we will finish off this verse and we will go to the next verse. Then it will be very easy to follow. Love as a response to something is different from just love. Love as a response means you love me, then I love you. That is responding love. Opposite of that is, love is not a response. Love is just your state of being. If love is your state of being, there is no utility to it. Now whatsoever the other does becomes immaterial to you, inconsequential to you. Even though people are giving me only, people are sending negative thoughts to me all the time. Wherever I go, only negativity is around me. In spite of all that, how to love? You can never love. Because love is, you are still thinking love as a response. You understand that? Goodness means I will love, badness means I will not. How to love people who are constantly hating you? How to love people who are constantly backbiting? How to love people who are constantly insulting you? This is our problem, no? Even in relation to love, how can we do that? Oh, it's not possible to love like that. It will not be possible to love when love is a response. When love is a state, the other is of no consequence. There is no utility. Otherwise, love itself becomes a utility. Everything in life you do only out of what is the utility? What is the utility? For pursuing God, there is no. For pursuing God, there is no utility. Utility means something of the world, something of the material equipments. Something of the material equipments. Something of the body, something of the mind, something of the intellect, or at least something of the world. That is utility. But God has no such. God has no such. That's why He says, it's wonderment. It's wonderment. It's wonderment. You hear about it, you know about it, and yet you don't have the courage to pursue it. No, sir, we are pursuing it already. You don't know it. Yeah, maybe you don't know it, but we are already pursuing that. What is pursuing God? How do you know that you are pursuing God? You don't need reminders of divinity. Then you know that you are pursuing God. How do you know that you are pursuing God? You don't need reminders. Number one. Number two, how do you know that you are seeking the self? You know that you are seeking the self when you tell the mind to stay here, it stays here. You tell the mind to stay here, it goes for one world tour and comes back. You are not pursuing. You make a choice to come, and the mind wanders. You follow what I am saying? You make a choice, and still there is something in you. There is a force in you that is functioning independent of your resolve. You have a resolve that I will come and study for an hour. You open the book. There is an independent force in you which functions all by itself, independent of whatsoever you decide. What does that mean? What does that mean? Wandering happens when attractions are still there. Wandering happens because of attractions. And as long as the world is attracting, you cannot pursue the God. For you to pursue God, world has to be understood rightly. Don't say world has to become unattractive. That's not it. You have to understand the world rightly. When you understand that word, what the world is rightly, you are in Ashcharya. You are in wonderment. You are in wonderment. Third, you don't need You don't need extraordinary magnified expressions for wonderment. You don't need any particular place for you to get into this wonderment. You don't need a particular set to get into this wonderment. Each and every moment, whatsoever you encounter in life, the basic thing that is at the background is the sense of ascharya, wonderment. What is the wonderment? What is the wonderment? Wonderment is there is something beyond it all. That is the wonderment. Even after hearing from the self-realized souls from the Vedantic texts about the true nature of God, God still remains a mystery. God still remains a mystery. God still remains unknown. God is not a mystery today because you know God. You will have a doubt about every word, but you will never have a doubt about the word God. You will have a doubt about each and every other word. You will want to know what prayer is, you will want to know what love is, you will want to know what money is, you will want to know what relation. Every word you will have a doubt. You will refer the dictionary. But for one word you will never refer the dictionary, not ask anyone. What is that word? G-O-D. Yeah. God. What is that? What can be mystical about? What can be mysterious about it when you already know it? For the seeker, it's a wonderment. For the seeker, it is a wonderment. For the non-seeker, he already knows God. The moment you know something, what is the mystery about it? Mystery is there only as long as you don't know it. Yeah. What happens, sir? Solungolan. What happens, sir? Solungolan. Then there is wanting to know. If you already know it, no, this is what happened. Then, for seeking to happen, you need to understand it. It has to be unknown. You cannot seek that which you know already. You cannot seek that which you know already. Since you believe that you know God, you don't seek God. But you pray to God, you worship God, assuming that God is going to remove your problems. I am not saying God will not remove. Vedanta is not saying God will not remove. In fact, He is the only one who is. In fact, God is the only one removing all obstacles. Who else can do it? Only He is. But you don't see it. You don't experience it. You don't understand that. Why? For you know God already. That's what he says. Even before the child understands whether it is a male or a female. For the newborn, it takes a while to recognize whether it is a male or a female. You know that? Every one of us sitting here in this classroom, we also went through that, but we forgot about it. Thank God we forgot about it. It takes a while for you to even know whether you are a male or a female. And when I say it's a while, you know how while is that while? Anyone? Don't do guesswork. If you either say I know or say English. Don't say 3 months. Don't say 6 months. You know? You don't know. Till it reaches the age of 8-10, it will not be sure inside. From outside you can never know it. Every one of us, every human being goes through that. We don't know that whether the child doesn't even know whether it is male or a female, but it knows It knows God. That's what he says. Even before you know everything, you know that you are a Christian, you know that you are a Muslim, you know that you are a Hindu. On what basis? On what basis? Whatever you are told, whatever you are conditioned by, whatever you are told, whatever you are conditioned by, and the deepest conditioning that a human being has is about God, about religion. That's why it's not evoking any ascharya, it's not evoking any wonderment. In the way that worldly objects evokes wonderment, in the way that worldly attainment, worldly achievements evokes wonderment, God doesn't evoke that wonderment. Simple example. A rich man evokes an wonderment compared to God versus a rich man. Who will evoke wonderment? Rich man. Because you are seeking that. Correct. You are seeking that. It has a utility. You are seeking that. That's why it evokes. That's why it evokes wonderment. Are you able to follow? The sense of achievement in the world versus God. See, even God, to evoke devotion, he has to be rich, no? Even God has to. Yeah, we go to Tirupati Balaji. How many video links I got in the last? See, National Geographic doesn't have anything else to do. They make a documentary on everything. Why do we have to circulate it? As though National Geographic had made a documentary, Balaji's power has slightly increased. Why they make a documentary? His power, in fact, decreased only. It is. What is that is invoking wonderment there? You know, in that same compound, there is another Balaji, what they call original Balaji. You know that? You know that? In the same complex you go, how many of you have gone to that Balaji temple here? Everyone would have gone, no? Have you gone? Correct. Yeah. As you enter, as you are in the sanctum, before you go into sanctum, waiting in that cages to see God, there is one Balaji. Torn dhoti he is adorned with a torn dhoti. No one even looks at him. See, even God has to. You understand that? See, to evoke ascharya, to evoke wonderment. What evokes wonderment? The worldly attainments, the worldly achievements, versus a man coming and saying, I know God, I have known God. You will turn around and say, we also know. What is the big deal in that? Another man comes and says, I have made $100 million. Oh. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm only saying how it works. The ascharya, the wonderment. Here he says, even after having heard from the experience of self-realized masters, or having read from the Shastras, scriptures about God remains a mystery. God remains a mystery. Mystery, and God always remains a mystery, because equipments can never understand that. Equipments can never touch it. Therefore, at any point of time, you cannot say, at least I have got a glimpse, no sir. Okay, I might not be seeing God 24/7, but at least I see Him when I close my eyes and sit in prayer, no. Ramatirtha says that what you are seeing with your eyes closed is hallucination. It is not real, it is your hallucination. I will reference also. Ramatirtha says that. Why it is so difficult to get to that state of wonderment, which is what I said last class. For you to experience wonderment, the insignificance of the ego has to be experienced. As long as the ego is very strong, very powerful, wonderment will not come. Understand, there is a difference between inspiration and wonderment. Inspiration you can get, but wonderment you can't get into. Inspiration you can get, wonderment you cannot get. For wonderment to experience, you need, the ego has to realize its insignificance. That's where I gave so many examples last class. In front of anything huge, big, you feel? Even sea doesn't give you that real thing. Sometimes if you get a chance, where there is no moonlight and where there is no light around also, suppose if there is a power cut, go to the terrace, lie down on the terrace and look at the sky, look at the stars. Infinite thing is there. Even then, if you don't get Ascharya, don't worry. Even then, if you don't get into that wonderment, don't worry. Infinite things are there. And see, in that whole thing, you don't exist at all. Your presence or absence has no significance. That's the right understanding. Otherwise you will get into an inferiority complex. Oh sir, I am so useless, correct, Vedanta is correct, I am a useless person. When will I become? At least I should become useful to one person. Don't get it, it's not an inferiority complex. A factual understanding of the insignificance of the ego. Whenever the ego's insignificance is understood, you get into wonderment. You get into wonderment. As you evolve in the spiritual path, you go on realizing the insignificance of your ego. That's why spiritual evolution has got nothing to do with knowing God. Spiritual evolution means knowing the insignificance of your ego. That's all. Just recognizing the insignificance of your ego. In recognizing the insignificance of your ego, you might end up experiencing something different. But what you can put in effort is your effort can be directed to realize the ego's insignificance. Whenever the ego's insignificance is understood, is experienced, that state is called Ascharya. That state is called wonderment. And that wonderment is something so unique, so different, can't be described in words. You don't know, you have it, you just have it, and you will not even want to talk about it to another because it's so futile. But Umbulta Mattuna sir, I want to say, I can, but at least you can understand, no? Because we both are in wonderment. I don't know, I am not in wonderment, that much I can say. Maybe you are in wonderment, I don't know. Only I can, you will not even want to You will not even want to talk about it, you will not want to even say anything about it because words fail. Words fail. Words fail. But a human being has to put everything into words. You have to put everything into words. You have to put everything into sentences, paragraph, huge story. Yeah, you can't not put it into words. That's why you find the Adi Guru, the first Guru. Who's the first Guru? Dakshinamurti. Taught through silence. He was sitting in silence. The four Sanat Kumaras, they are also sitting in silence. Perfect communication. Perfect communication. That is the highest. Slightly worse than that. Slightly worse is Upanishad, where you are closer to the teacher, wanting to experience what he has experienced, and he speaks a few words. Tattvamasi Ekameva Dvitiyam. That's all. It's only one, not two. That's all he says. Further deterioration. Where? Class after class nothing happens, because it's all done through words. See, supposing I come after the invocatory prayer is there, I am sitting in silence 10 seconds. Carefully follow now. If you are not in wonderment, silence is longest. I come here and I sit in silence. Every second looks long. That's why you need such a variety too. Otherwise, silence is. Even lovers, when they are really in love, they will just hold hands and they sit. They will not have a conversation. If they are having a conversation, you can understand that love it has come down, because it's that. So 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I am not saying anything. You will think, oh, maybe he is just thinking. Maybe Karthala points and so maybe he is recollecting. Let us just wait. 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you start seeing, you start asking, what happened? Why? What happened to him today? Is he well? Is there anything? Second minute, one person will think, let him come out of his sleep. Let me finish one call and come back. Fifth minute, this entire place will be empty. That's why, one second break we keep, even without giving a second break we talk. And you don't know how excruciating it is. At the end of the talk, all 3-4 things only you have to see. And yet, wonderment is Ascharya, is in silence. Ascharya is in silence. And that silence is so beautiful, and that silence is so wonderful that you will not want to come out. Not want to come out of that. That is wonderment. That is Ascharya. Today our Ascharya is experience it. You will know. Remove all the gadgets, switch off everything, just go into an empty room and ask the person to lock it from outside. If you want to experience it, I have experimented with all this. Yeah. I have experimented. The only person I did lot of experiment. Poor thing, she is sitting here to listen to me now. That's tragedy. With her only I did all this. I will tell her, Vella put it put. She will not know. She will also lock and go. Simply, nothing will be inside. After a while, they will get scared. Something would have gone wrong. How uncomfortable it is. How? So, you get into action out of a discomfort. Because for you to be silent is excruciating. Why? So much of desires, so much of vasanas driving you into activity, and you feel so glorified about it also. No, sir, I am very active. No one can be as active as me. I am not saying become inactive. That's not what he is saying. That wonderment. You follow what I am saying? Wonderment. That wonderment. It's impossible to experience. Why? Why it is impossible to experience? The ego is still feeling itself very, very significant. It feels that it is still very important. It still feels that it has to achieve something. It still feels that it has to do something. What it has not yet realized is what? Everything happens by itself. All that you have to do is what? Not to interfere. Everything happens by itself. You don't have to. You should, as long as you don't interfere, things are. You means the ego. What is the interference of the ego? The interference of the ego happens when an importance is assumed. When an importance is assumed, when an indispensability is given to one's own self, then only you will interfere. Otherwise you will not interfere. Are you able to follow? Then only you will interfere. Otherwise you will not interfere. So for you to interfere, for you to act, for you to be loving, for you to be compassionate, for you to do all that is so-called noble in life, what is it that is driving it primarily? The ego. Ego has to drive. What is the ego? A self-importance. And that self-importance kills Ascharya. And Kathopanishad says, it's wonderment. Ascharya. It is Ascharya. It's wonderment. What is the wonderment? Everything in life defies your understanding. That is the wonderment. Everything in life defies your understanding. We try to understand it so that we can kill the wonderment. We cannot just say, okay, let me just soak in it for a while. I cannot say that. I need to make an effort to understand. In that understanding, wonderment goes. Abba, I have understood, sir. The wonderment comes from the Shastras as long as you don't understand it. If you come into this classroom thinking that I know everything, nothing will evoke wonderment. Supposing you walk in and says, still there are so many things that I have not understood. Still there are so many things that I have not understood. Even the silence will evoke wonderment. In Ascharya, in wonderment, your grasping capacity is at the peak. Again I repeat. In that wonderment, your penetrating capacity is at its peak. The grasping capacity is at its peak. The mind becomes still. That is very important. For a seeker, all the effort that the seeker does is to still the mind. Why? That's the prerequisite for meditation. And meditation is the gateway to realization. To still the mind. Still the mind means it freezes. In wonderment, the mind freezes. In wonderment, the mind freezes, as it were. Your penetrating capacity is high. Your absorption capacity is also high. That's why when you are in wonderment with the Shastra speaks so much. When you are in wonderment with the Master, even his walk teaches you something. Even his talk teaches you something. Even the way he is sitting teaches you something. Your absorption is at its maximum capacity. Are you able to follow? Your absorption capacity reaches its peak when you are in wonderment. When you are not in wonderment, okay sir, very good. You continue to do something. Are you able to follow? When you are in wonderment, everything speaks. Everything speaks. Your absorption is more. You can read so many things. You can see so many things which others miss. They miss it and you get it. What makes you to attain that? What makes you to achieve that? Wonderment. Ashcharya. The moment you assume, I know him, what happens? Wonderment goes. Wonderment goes. Wonderment goes. Knowledge satisfies your curiosity. Carefully understand. Knowing satisfies your curiosity but kills wonderment. For a spiritual seeker, he wants to be in wonderment. Fundamental difference. Curiosity, knowledge kills. You are curious. Curiosity goes. Knowledge comes. Knowing comes. Along with that knowing, wonderment, humility doesn't come. Along with that knowing, what comes? Along with that knowing, arrogance comes, hatred comes, I know comes. Wonderment goes. What is wonderment? Exactly the opposite. More you know, more wonderment. That much more you know, that much more wonderment. You understand? In life it's exactly the opposite. More you know, more you know, more you know. That's why the professor of philosophy looks like the most bored human being on earth. You go and talk to him, you will get bored in 5 minutes. Because he knows so much, but that knowing has resulted in what? Knowing has resulted in Ashcharya, skill. To seek God, you need to know how to be in wonderment. And how to be in wonderment? Insignificance of the ego. Even relatively speaking, see, more you know about your neighbor, more you can't love, no? More you know about your partner, you can't. Love happens as long as you don't know. That's why very easy to love a stranger, very easy to serve a stranger, but impossible to serve Impossible to serve the partner at home. Why? There you don't know, here you know. That's why all worldly knowledges are ignorant by nature. Even though it looks like knowledge, it's not knowledge in the true sense. It makes you more and more wiser in ignorance. But all there is something called. You become more and more wise in new ways of becoming ignorant. Nothing. See, to love the unknown God is very easy. To love the person closest is grandfather is there. Very difficult to love him because he's constantly coughing. He's constantly you don't even understand. You are enjoying his efforts. Don't even realize that. You are sitting and enjoying his effort, but he himself becomes a burden. Correct? He himself becomes a burden. Not only that, you are waiting for him to. The moment he is dead and gone, immediately photograph comes and Marilyn dead and worshipping him out of gratitude that he left you. Out of gratitude because he left you. Why? It's so easy to love Krishna. It's so easy to love Jesus, but impossible to love. Why? Because you know. Abu Ben Adam says, what did Abu Ben Adam say? Write me as one who loves fellow beings. How can you love when you know? That's why they say love is blind. As long as you are blind, you can love. The moment you know, what stops? I can love everyone else except that one person. So he's so vicious, so bad. He's so nagging, he's so frustrating, he's so selfish. How can? In fact, because of his selfishness only, you have to love him and serve him to get him out. You will say, I will love all those who are selfless, where they don't need your love at all, service at all. Have you ever noticed, even relatively, it's so easy to serve the teacher, where he doesn't need your. He says, I don't need your service, go and serve the world. He says, no, that is very difficult because here all, my ego says, I will relate only with, I belong to the league of Ramana and Shankaracharya, but not to, and their whole lifetime they spent with. You follow what I am saying? The worldly knowledge has a fundamental flaw. What is the fundamental flaw? More you know, more hatred develops. More you know, more. That's why there is this thing. Nadi Moolam, Rishi Moolam don't see, they say. You know why? Because you know that even the little bit inspiration you have, that also goes. And your knowing is of no use to you. Your knowing is of no use. If my friends were to come here, they will say what? Why are you talking? It's because in the same road, 30 years back, 35 years, what we did only we don't know. Maybe to some extent my sister will know. Adu kuda very limited. You understand? That knowing is of no use. Why? that knowing takes away what? Knowing takes away wonderment. The knowing takes away wonderment. And true knowledge keeps you in wonderment. What is the proof of wonderment? Your absorption, your absorption capacity. Second day in the course, when I joined the course, you saw me writing so much notes. After the class, he called me and said, "Am I dictating notes? Are you a shorthand fellow taking notes?" I said, "No, sir, but I need notes not to go back and refer." That day I stopped. See, in all other places your mind can wander. It's okay. In front of the master also, if your mind is wandering, what to do? Are you able to follow? He's saying the teacher is talking. In front of him, if the mind is wandering all over, by taking notes, what do you think you are going to achieve? I felt so insulted. I can't tell you what I did. I was almost crying in the... How insulting it is. That day I stopped taking. So, it used to be such a struggle to absorb. And then, over a period of time, more you absorb, more wonderment. More you absorb, more the wonderment. Because you start seeing beyond the words. It's not the words. It's not the words anymore. Something unsaid through the look between two thoughts. Look between two lines. What is there between two lines? What is there in between two lines? Empty. Something is there that is empty. Something that is there which is beyond your understanding. All this is said only to hook you to that. You are in wonderment. And that wonderment is an essential prerequisite for meditation, for in meditation realization. Therefore, in the final state of enlightenment, all these wondrous experiences culminate in experiencing the transcendental self. Right through there is wonderment, but still it's not the experience of divine. It is wonderment. It's Ashcharya, not the experience of divine. You continue the path. You continue the tapas. You continue with the yoga. You continue. You go. A time comes where culminates in realization. That is called Ashcharya. Wonderment. Yes, sir. Yes. 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 Correct. Correct. See, the difference here is, the question that he is asking is, you know more and more, you get hatred. Now you know more and more about a Ramana Maharishi or a Shankaracharya or any master for that matter, your wonderment only increases. Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Yes or no? Yes sir. யாரோ 2-3 பேர் நோ வேற சொல்றாங்க. நோவா? நோ? As you, Jesus Christ evokes wonderment now. Jesus Christ wasn't able to evoke wonderment when he was alive. Shankaracharya is able to evoke wonderment now. He wasn't able to evoke wonderment when he was alive. I remember the same Shankaracharya. I was 11 at that time. Every Friday evening, leave the school, go there straight. Monday morning, come back to school straight. That's how I was doing for years and years and years. One day, he said, all these people are falling at my feet, no? All these people are coming and falling at my feet. So you think all these people are devoted to me, no? Yes. None of them will listen to what I say. None of them listens to what I say. Example. He said, from 1920, he was crusading against silk. Against silk. From 19, you know that. From 1920, he was crusading against silk. He told me, count the number of people who wear silk and prostrate to me and go. Count the number of people, he said. I was standing behind counting. 2.5 hours. The whole lot left. He said, எவ்வளோடா count பண்ண? I said, 87. He said, 93. I said 87. He said 93. In between, I went to have my breakfast and come. In that time, 6 fellows passed by. When he was alive, he used to be such a terror and provocative. Now that he is not there, everyone is getting inspired, because what we know about him is what people come and talk about. What people talk about? What people talk about? What benefits they derived out of him. More and more and more you hear the benefits that he has done to people, more and more you get inspired. Is that inspiration? You follow? Is that inspiration? What is it? Oh, he's a very powerful man. If I pray to him, maybe one day he will come and... You follow what I am saying? It's not only his case. And he lived only 15 years back, no? He didn't live thousands of years back. He lived only 15-20 years back. And today, the way they talk about him as though he is one miracle man. He is. That's not knowing. What is knowing? What is knowing? What is knowing? Knowing is to accept him as an authority in everything, and taking him as an authority and follow his instructions. That is knowing. You follow what I am saying? I get impressed, I get inspired and come back and do my own things. You follow what I am saying? When it is done like that, there is no inspiration. But then, I agree with you on one count. For a true seeker, the wonderment goes on. The wonderment goes on increasing. What evokes wonderment in him? What evokes wonderment in the seeker? What will evoke wonderment? The tapas, the hard work, that unswerving principle where nothing could shake. These are all the things that start inspire. You follow what I am saying? Miracles will not inspire. Stories will not inspire. Him curing stomachache will not inspire. Him curing migraine will not inspire. What will inspire? His tapas. First thing that will inspire is his tapas. My God. Here, one small pinprick I am not able to handle. Little bit of temperature going up, little bit of temperature going down. I am not able to handle. What a tapas it is. What a tapas it is. Number 2, what with that ocean of knowledge, with what sincerity he can sit and listen to? One. Both of them are like that. Swamiji always says, no one can beat me as a student. You all can beat me as a master, he says. But you can't beat me as a student. Ascharya it is. Wonderment it is. What is the wonderment there? What is the wonderment there? Not the knowledge. With all that knowledge, what is it that he still learns the new vocabulary? The vocabulary that was taught 30 years back is not the vocabulary that he is using now. Words are changing. He said, why? Because new generation are coming, Noda, I have to speak. So I have to learn the vocabulary. At 90, the man is sitting and learning vocabulary. So the message can be conveyed. Ascharya, wonderment. You follow what I am saying? These are all the things that causes wonderment in a true seeker. In that sense, more and more you know, it will evoke wonderment. But then you have to be very careful about what knowledge is invoking this inspiration. What knowledge? Knowledge of his tapas, the knowledge of his humility, the knowledge of that unswerving strength which he doesn't compromise on principle. He doesn't compromise on the principle. And the whole world is that is. So the beauty is the whole world at his feet has the capacity to say, has the courage to say, no. Where is that courage coming from? Where is that strength? You follow what I am saying? Now, if this is what you mean by knowing, evoking inspiration, yes, you are right. Most of the time, when people say about a great man that he is so great, he is so great, he is so great, on what basis they call him great? How he is able to solve their problems. In case, assume the possibility that in case if their problem is not solved, that man will go back and say what? Assume that possibility. I assume all this. Because I don't have any other job, no? So I keep assuming, maybe. You follow what I am saying? A true seeker knows. That's where in Panchadashi he gives his example. In Panchadashi he gives his example. The true seeker is like the heavenly swan, he says. You know there is that heavenly swan? What is it called? Napakshi. It knows what? You give milk, it knows how to segregate. How can you segregate that? You understand that? In Panchadashi he says, a seeker knows this, he says. A seeker is that. He knows what knowledge to take, what to discard. He knows that what to take that will evoke Ascharya. You will take that which will kill the wonderment. You follow what I am saying? A seeker is like that. In Panchadashi he gives this example. He is like the swan, he says. Divine, it's there. It's there in heavens, and it has a unique capacity. What is the unique capacity? You give milk, separating water from milk. Can you separate water from milk? Water and milk are one and the same. It's one and the same. It's not one and the same. There is something that is added to that water. It knows how to segregate that. See, understand it like that. Supposing if there is a machine where you pour Pepsi on one side, pure water comes out the other side. You pour pure water one side, Pepsi comes out the other side. No. Imagine there is a machine doing the reverse. Pour Pepsi on one side, pure water comes out, and the added things, a seeker is that. His inspiration is something qualitatively different. You follow what I am saying? But then, when they were alive, see, every master, when he was alive, he will not be worshipped. You know why? He pokes the ego. He pokes the ego so directly all the time that you cannot handle it beyond a point. Whereas, from his photograph he is not going to poke at you anything. Your ego remains correct. Your ego will remain intact. Also you have the added new ego that I am a devotee of. See, people talk with pride that I am the devotee. I am a devotee of Krishna. I am a devotee of Sai Baba. As though it is something to be ego. Angagura, they develop one new ego. I am a worship of Vedanta, sir. Adalla, no, I am Vedanta. Understand that? A living master is very difficult to handle. Why? Because he pokes. Number one. Number two, very difficult because unpredictable. You will never know what's going to happen. You can never know what's going to happen next. Keeps you on your toes all the time. Number three, he will never find anything good in you. He will not say anything good about you. Anything you go with, he will know how to he will know how to find a fault and make a mincemeat out. Idella experience panna, you will know all that. So all this I am saying out of experience. Otherwise, you can't learn this from? All this is not listed out in any textbook. You live with the master, you have all this. So humiliating it is. So insulting, so belittling, so this thing. And yet, have the courage to sustain, have the devotion to sustain, have the humility to prostrate. Something fundamentally changes in you. After that, there is no looking back. After that there is no, in that sense, the living master evokes wonderment. Tragedy is masters evoke wonderment after. Tragedy is they will evoke wonderment only after they leave. See, today everyone goes to Ramana Maharshi and they sit like this, no? Another Ramana Maharshi. And they are looking at the clock also. That man left everything, even when they said come out, he said, I will. Why should I come out? And I booked the return ticket first. Before I go, I make sure my return is confirmed. You follow? And if you are wise, if you want to be a seeker, you will catch hold of a living master. If you are wise, you will catch hold of a master who is alive. And it is difficult. Why it is difficult? I listed out. It is pokes the ego. Unpredictable. He is always with you. Suddenly he goes into a zone where you don't understand. Suddenly he goes. You will think, what suddenly? Oh, maybe he is in his moods. He will come back. See, you go into a zone when you get into your moods, no? You understand? Lastly, all this is not it. Lastly, what is it that evokes Ascharya? What is it that evokes Ascharya? That uncompromising stance on knowledge, that uncompromising stance on the purpose of life. Will not compromise what? He will not utter anything that is compromising. What is uttering anything means? Okay, self-realization, we will see later. Now let us do something else first. He will not, you agree, you don't agree, you accept, you don't accept. The king of Lucknow, Wajid Ali, had the musician, Tansen. He had one of the great musician, Tansen. And he says, I am not a great musician, my guru is a great musician. And the king said, why don't you bring him to the court? We all can enjoy. He says, no. He will not come. If you want to listen, you have to go. Okay. When he will sing, invitation card la 3 மாசம் முன்னாடியே print பண்ணி, Music Academy 6:30 to 7:45. Even then, that day also I have to keep calling. Please come. He says, singing will not happen like that. No one knows when he will sing. You have to come and wait. You have to just come and wait. Suddenly he starts singing. And the king came. Waited. He started singing. The Guru started singing. The same tune. Singing. Not the variety. The same tune he was singing. King turned around and said, you said he is a great musician. He is singing only one tune and not even changing it. Why do you call him a great musician? He is a great musician because he has struck that one note. We are all still struggling to strike that one note. Are you able to understand that? Konjam kashtam adu. Ascharya becomes easy to understand. He is saying, Tansen told the king, he struck that note which we are all struggling to We are going through all these variations, trying to find that one note, and that man has found that one note. Therefore, the wonderment is just sticking to that one note. Same, ஒரே பாட்டை. Why don't you sing? At least ஒரு variety or 3-4 songs you can sing, no? Why singing the same tune, same thing? That which evokes inspiration in the seeker is that, not the variety. That because it inspires you because you are seeking that one. Are you able to follow? It evokes inspiration in you because in you are seeking that one. If you are not seeking that one, to you it will not make any difference. That stance with which he goes on and on and on, singing the same tune. What is the same tune? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. How do you know that? Nitya, Nitya, Viveka, Vichara. That's all. The same tune. He goes on singing. And every time he says it, you hear something new. Every time he says it, you hear something new. If you are a non-seeker, you will say, this is what we know already. This is what we know. A time will come where you will know. Where you will know everything and not know anything. That state is ignorance. Worldly knowledge is like that. A spiritual knowledge, the true knowledge is something which is qualitatively different. What is the difference? What is the difference? More you know, more it evokes wonderment. More you know, more it evokes wonderment. And that wonderment continues till the experiences culminate in the transcendental knowledge and realization of. Is it okay? Huh?